to shake off some of the stress of the week. Breathe in that extra neshama, the neshama amukah, a deep breath, a deep soul breath that we gain on Shabbat. To prepare ourselves to lift our voices in song and in prayer. Together on page 19, the words of Shir Ladonai, Kol Haaretz, Shir Ladonai, Shir Kadash. Sing to God all the earth, sing to God a new song. And of course, every day is an opportunity to sing new songs of our lives. We sing words of praise. Even though the words are ancient and eternal, we also write new songs each day. As we welcome Shabbat, we turn to the candle blessings, beginning on page 20. It's my pleasure to call upon Jenny Dintner, who's going to lead us in the blessings and to light the lights for us.
On page 20, on this day we will see the world in a new light. On this day we will add new spirit to our lives.
On this day we would taste a new time of peace. We would rest from desire from gain, ambition for things.
We would raise our eyes to look beyond time and space towards eternity. Oh, may we come to see the world in a new light.
As it is written, let a new light shine upon Zion, and may it be our blessing to see its splendor.
The Shabbat sheds lights upon us, light for the days. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzavanu, lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav. Let's see, page 24, the words of Yedid Nefesh. Let's sing together from the last stanza. Higalena, Ufros Chavivi Alai. That's actually at the top of page 25. Beloved one, please spread over us the shelter of your peace. Higale, gale, na, ufros, chavivi alai, et sukkot, ufros chavivi alai, et sukkot, shomecha. Page 26, from Psalm 63. My God, I thirst for you, I yearn for you. You are like clouds of spring rain, bringing cool water to the parched and dusty desert of my soul. In this sanctuary, where I feel the power and the glory of your presence, my mouth fills with songs of praise. All my days I will bless you, for I trust you more than life. I feel sated as with a royal feast when I sing your praises. My heart dances. Our hearts dance too as we sing together the words of Lecha Dodi on page 29. We imagine ourselves going out into the fields at dusk as our ancestors did in the mystical tradition of these words. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekala. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekala. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishme'anu el ha'miuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo, echad v'shemo tiferet v'li'ila. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat Frank, would you lead us on page 34 with How Can I Sing?
How can I sing of day and night when it's God who formed us?
How can I sing of heaven and earth when it is God who created them?
How can I sing of mountains and hills when it's God who planted them?
How can I sing of seas and deserts when it is God who begot them?
And how can I sing of earth in its fullness when it's God who made them be?
I shall sing to God who fashioned all, and is beyond all. It is to God I shall sing. We rise, embody your spirit for the words of Baruch. Please be seated. We continue with the prayer for creation in the English on page 37. Dave, would you lead us at the top of the page?
We praise you, eternal our God, whose presence fills creation. Your word brings on the evening twilight. You open the gates of dawn with wisdom and with foresight. You make times pass and the seasons change.
Your plan sets the courses of stars in the sky, created day and night, turning light into darkness and darkness into light.
You make the day fade away and bring on the night, separating day and night. You rule the host of heaven.
We praise you, Eternal One, who brings on the evening twilight. Torah We rise for the words of Shemon Ve'ahavta. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושירתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך למשוך בך ובקומך וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך והיו תדפות בין עיניך וכתבת על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Please be seated. Roz, would you lead us at the bottom of 42 in reading back?
I, Miriam, stand at the sea and turn to face the desert stretching endless and still.
My arms reach for the sky, and I want to sing the song rising inside me.
My mouth open, I stop. Where are the words? Where the melody? In a moment of panic, my vision goes blank. And I take a step without knowing a destination. Will I falter? Will I fall? Will the ground sink away from under me?
The song still unformed. How can I sing? To take the first step, to sing a new song, is to close one's eyes and dive into unknown waters, for a moment knowing nothing, risking all, but then to discover the waters are friendly, the ground is firm, and the song rises again. Come from arms stronger than our own. So may you redeem all those who are still oppressed and persecuted. We praise you, Eternal One, Redeemer of Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. We pray together the words of Hashkivenu, the bottom of page 45, the words of the night prayer as we lie down at night. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu Shalom, Ve'avideinu, Shoreinu L'chaim, Ufros Aleinu, Sukkot Shalom Lecha, V'takneinu, V'takneinu, Ve'etzah tova milfonecha, Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu L'shalom, Ve'avideinu, Shoreinu L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkot shalom, aleinu, aleinu, ve'akol amo Yisrael. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu Shalom, Ve'avideinu, Shoreinu L'chaim. We turn to the words of Chatzi Kaddish as we move into this next section of the service, page 49. Yitgadol v'yitkadosh shmei Rabbah, be'amad yivrach yirateh v'yamlichol chutei, b'chayecho u'b'yomecho, u'b'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala ba'agala, u'lizman karim, v'barum amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach, le'olam ve'amaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yipar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalah, shmei l'kedusha. Le'ila min kol berchata v'shir hata, tush b'chata v'lechem hata, na'ami v'yiram v'yama, v'yiram amen. We rise in body or in spirit as we turn towards the east, page 50. Adonai sifatai tiftachu v'yagid tehilvatecha, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Ha'gadol, Ha'gibor V'Hanora, Elyon, Gomel Chazayim Tovim, V'kolei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imot, U'bei Geulah Livnei Bneihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Hazer V'Moshiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magid Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Elam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol atah, Rav Moshiach, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayei HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Solel Nochlim V'Rofei Cholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mkayim Natol Yishanei Afar, כמוך בדיבורו, ומיום אליו, מלך בביטול חיי ומצליח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני לחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בך יום יהללך סלם. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Please be seated. Join with me on the top of page 53. Kedushat Hayom, the holiness of this day, which is Shabbat. This Shabbat is the day of Oneg, a day of joy, a day of rest, a day of holiness. We join together responsibly on page 59. Joel, would you lead us at the top of the page, reading Bet?
I saw Jerusalem from Mount Scopus, and she was perfect and whole, little yet limitless. Within her borders contained and yet uncontainable.
Those who wrapped in white and blue, are ministering priests, and silently they meditate blessing, and burn the shell incense.
And on the hills and pits the embers still whispered and burned, as if spikes were being perfumed there in the twilight by the roasting of the sun's coals on censers of shadows.
And all Jerusalem was for me like a single coal kept on the altar, that each nation devoured and I come bright with their tongues to take from it an ember. We praise you, eternal one, who brings your Shekinah to Zion. Please join me on page 60 in the words of Hoda'ah, blessings of thanksgiving. We gratefully acknowledge, eternal God, that you are our creator and preserver, the rock of our life and our protecting shield. We give thanks to you for our lives, which are in your hands, for our souls, which are in your keeping, for your wondrous providence and your continuous goodness, which you bestow upon us day by day. Truly, your mercies never fail, and your love and kindness never cease. Therefore do we put our trust in you. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm and praise your name in truth. Eternal God, whose name is goodness, we give you thanks and praise. On page 63, the words of Shalom Rav. We ask God to send us great peace. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Ki Ata Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. V'tov b'einecha le'avorech et Amcha Yisrael. Bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. Tasim We take a few moments now to pray the words of our own hearts. Page 66. Oh, say shalom b'romah, u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Adam, ve'imru, Oh, say shalom b'romah, u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Adam, ve'imru, Parsha for the week, Tazria. Tazria talks about purification, defilements of the skin, clothing, and houses. There is sort of a thread that really runs throughout this portion. There's a very key verse that reads, "He shall be unclean as long as the disease is on him, and he shall dwell apart. His dwelling place shall be outside the camp." What does it mean when someone is dwelling outside the camp when sickness strikes? What does that mean? Illness can sometimes be a barrier to community. It can be a barrier to communication and to healing. And we've all had experiences dealing with friends and families of people who were ill and separated from the community at some point in time. Looking at this parsha, we know that the words of it can be sometimes challenging. One of the main texts in the portion says, "As for a person with a leprous affection," or tzara'at, tazria comes from that same root, "his clothes shall be rent, his hair shall be left bare, and he shall cover his upper lip, and shall be unclean as long as the disease is on him, and his dwelling place is separate from the community." It's not always easy to understand what this portion is talking about or what that might have meant for people to be placed outside the camp, and yet we know that even today, when people are ill, we often feel separate from the community. And it was reminding me of a story, a famous story in Jewish tradition told by Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav. And the story is called "The Rooster Who Would Be King." So I wanted to share that story with you tonight. You may know it. If you do, you'll get to hear it again. If not, it's a really fascinating story. A long time ago, taught Rabbi Nachman, there lived a king and a queen and their child, the prince. They considered the prince to be their greatest treasure. The king made certain that the prince had the most learned teachers and the wisest soothsayers to instruct him in all that a prince would need to know in order to be a great king when the time came for him to rule the kingdom. But one day a very strange illness came over the prince, and he began to act like a rooster. He took off his clothes and he roamed all around the palace, flapping his arms like a rooster and crowing loudly and long all day long. He stopped speaking the language of the king and queen, and he insisted on only sitting on the floor under the table and eating corn from the floor like a rooster would. He refused to sit at the table with others and ate only under the table for all of his meals alone. Now the king and queen became very upset, and they called for the best doctors in the kingdom to treat the prince in hopes of curing him of this illness. But nothing that the doctors and the soothsayers and the other healers tried seemed to make any difference, and the rooster prince continued happily running around the palace, crowing and flapping his arms and hopping around wherever he wanted to go. One day a wise old man came to the palace and said, "Your Majesty, I would like to try to cure the prince." "Where are your medicines?" said the king. "Everyone has tried." And all the doctors carried in bags of potions and pills. But this man came without a bag, without anything, it seemed, except the cloak that he was wearing. "I have my own ways, Your Majesty," said the wise man. "Allow me 7 days alone with the prince." Well, reluctantly, the king agreed because nothing else had worked. There was no other hope. And the wise man was brought to the prince. The first thing that he did was to get down on the floor with the prince and sit under the table and take off all of his own clothing, where the prince stared at him for a very long time. "Who are you, and what are you doing here?" crowed the rooster prince curiously. "I," said the wise man, I'm a rooster, can't you see?" "Oh," said the prince, "I'm a rooster too. Happy to have found a friend." Time passed with the two of them crowing and flapping their arms and eating corn off the floor under the table. One day, the wise man got out from under the table and he began to walk around a little bit straighter each and every day. And the rooster prince had grown so fond of this friend that he began to follow him wherever he went. And the two roosters hopped around the palace together. Another day, the wise man got up in the morning and got off the floor and put on his shirt and trousers and began to walk around the palace. "What are you doing, my friend?" said the rooster prince. "Roosters don't wear clothes." "Well, you're right, dear prince," said the wise man, "but I was a bit chilly. And I assure you, you can still be a good rooster even with your clothes on. Try it." So the rooster prince put on some clothes too, and he continued to walk around the palace with his friend, both of them crowing and flapping their arms. The next day, the wise man sat at the table and ate some corn from a golden platter. The rooster prince sat down at the table in a chair next to his friend. And soon, the servants brought silverware and goblets and golden plates, and slowly, the wise man began to eat the delicious food with a fork and a knife in a proper manner. And his friend, the rooster prince, began to imitate him. Soon both of them had eaten an entire meal sitting in chairs at the table using the forks and the knives. And the rooster prince crowed most happily. Well, the following night, instead of sleeping on the floor, the wise man began to sleep on a bed. He again assured the prince, "Don't worry, you can be a good rooster just the same, even if you sleep in a bed." And so the rooster prince resumed sleeping on his royal bed and no longer slept under the table. Soon after that, the wise man began to discuss with the rooster prince the philosophies of life as he understood them. "Wait just a minute," said the rooster prince. "Roosters do not have to think. They certainly don't debate the merits of a way of life. Roosters just exist, and they're being fed and cared for without any worries." "Well, you may be right," said the wise old man, "but on the other hand, it doesn't mean you can't be a good rooster if you engage in discussion. After all, you will know that you're a rooster just the same." Well, the prince thought this over for a while, and within a short time, he began to discuss his own ideas with the old man. On the last day of the week, 7th day, as the wise man had promised, he bid farewell to the prince. As he was about to leave, he said, "My friend, I want you to remember this. Roosters are fair game for the hunter, so always try to pretend that you are a human prince. Act wisely and help others. Farewell." From that day on, the prince walked and ate and talked like the prince that he was. And in time, he became a great king ruling over the entire kingdom, and nobody, besides himself, knew that he was still a rooster. So this story that Rabbi Nachman tells, and no doubt he had the idea of a rebbe or a teacher to his students, and how to train them up, how to teach them to be wise students and wise adults. But before that could happen, he had to build a relationship. And very often when people find themselves outside of the camp because of illness or for other reasons, it is difficult to find their way back in. And it is difficult sometimes for those of us who are sort of insiders to connect. And so regarding this concept of zara'at, of this plague, this whatever it is that the Torah is describing and excluding sick people from normal human contact, we have to consider that in some ways the rulings or the teachings of Torah had wisdom. And we certainly know that from the COVID experience that we have been living through. that sometimes isolation is necessary. We also know, however, that isolation can fuel a downward spiral for people, that those who live in isolation lack human connection and human contact, and that for us as a community, it's also our responsibility to make contact with all in our community and to bring back those who have been outside the camp to connect with all of us. I think that despite some of our challenges of these last couple of years, we have learned how to make connections stronger, even for some of those who may formerly have found themselves separated from community. And so the teaching of the Rooster Prince reminds us that all of us are roosters, all of us are wise men, and on some days we are both. Shabbat Shalom. We pray for healing as well for those in our community. Those who need healing of body, those who need healing of spirit. We turn to page 133 for the words of Mesha Berach. And as we pray these words, we bring to mind those in our families and those in our community in need of healing. We think especially on the Shabbat of Shirley Herman, Esther Vuchenmark, Rick Valentine, Simon Green, Marlene Friedman, Linda Levenhack, Jack Kudlatz, Francis Van Tyne, Suzanne Scher Stimpson, Bernie McLennan, Harriet Lockman, Ellen Becker, Nicola Proetti, Rebecca Bodville, Parker Kaiko, Philip Shepard, Carl Katz, Nicole Hansen, Raina Rowan, Gila Naruzzi, Rob Green, Madeline Kitson, Kathy Kitson, Sharon Burr, Dee Hickey, Lorraine DaCosta, Jack Richmond, Nettie Sandilevici, Adela Tsur, Al Lofsky, Michael Freeman, Ann Steinbach, Erwin Milgram, Evelyn Tyndall, Amanda Shank, and Shaista Durrani. And I invite you as well to share names aloud of those for whom you are praying on this Shabbat, or to hold their names in your heart as we pray these words together.
Before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi she'eroch imotenu mekor bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We turn now to the words of Aleinu, page 149. As we rise and pray for the day when the world will be one and at peace. Aleinu l'shaber Adon hakol, ateit gevurah yotzer Bereshit, asher samcha kinu liachad et shemo, v'gor aleinu lehamlich malchuto, v'anachnu korim u'nishtar
בשמיים ויוצא הארץ, ומשל יקרא בשמיים נמהר, ושכינת עוזו, ושכינת עוזו, ולא בין הרונים. ואלוהינו, אלוהינו, ארץ מלכנו, אפס תלותו, כבודו בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבת אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, אל הארץ והארץ מתחתינו. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ויאמרו יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Please be seated. Page 155. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. God is our support in the struggles of life and our hope in death. In God's care are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. God gives us strength and comforts us. Life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts. Fill us with trust in you, and turn us again to the tasks of life. And may the memory of our loved ones inspire us to continue their work for the coming of the Messianic age. At this time, our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those of our friends and neighbors, and all of those people whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We recall the name of one who left this earth during the last week, Jerry Willis, husband of the late Nancy, stepfather of Jim and stepfather-in-law of Patty Bomford and David Cummins, the brother of Emily, grandfather and great-grandfather. In addition to the funeral service that already took place this week, on this Sunday, April the 3rd at 3 p.m., we will be holding a gathering here at Solel for a minyan and also to share remembrances of Jerry. We recall as well the names of the following victims of terror in Israel during the last 10 days. Amir Khoury, an Arab Israeli, age 32. Rabbi Abishai Yechezkel, 29. Rabbi Yaakov Shalom, age 36. Dmitry Mitrik, Ukrainian citizen, 31 years old. Viktor Sorokofit, Ukrainian citizen, 23 years old in Israel. Sherelle Abukart, 19 years old. Vizan Falach, a Druze, resident of Israel, 19 years old. Laura Yitzchak, 43 years old. Rabbi Moshe Karbitsky, age 50. Dorit Yachbas, age 49. And Menachem Yechezkel, age 67. Yehi Zokram Baruch. We are in Shloshim at this time for Daryl Kruger, the brother of Adam and brother-in-law of Crystal, the uncle of Ephraim, Harmony, and Zane. And we recall as well the Shabbat, the following, whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of whose death occurs this week. Hans Emmanuel Louis, the father of Ann Bobker, Henrietta Dahan, the aunt of Joseph Dortel, Maria Rodolescu, the mother of Andrea Galambos and the mother-in-law of Dan Georgescu and the grandmother of Andrew. Rose Rosen, the mother of Jane Nevelith, the grandmother of Emily and Matthew. Fred Landecker, the uncle of Jeff Wilkinson. Leah Lillian Black, the grandmother of Rabbi Lawrence Englander. Norman Shine, the uncle of Kevin. Abraham Tish, the grandfather of Shirley Herman. Sadie Goldman, the mother of Carol Goldman. Sarah Friedman, the mother of Harvey, the grandmother of Jason, Jeremy, and Melanie, the great-grandmother of Jordan, Jessica, Harper, and Finley. Rose Zimach, the mother-in-law of Helene Fleischman, and Greta DeLu, the mother of Joanna Pagrak and Eva Romberg and Catherine Frank. If you are saying Kaddish for someone whose name I have not read, I invite you to share their name at this time or to hold their name in your heart. As we ask those who are mourning to please rise first. And we say to you, Min hamakom tinachamu, may you find comfort in God's sheltering presence. Now as a community, we all rise to support those who are mourning and to say Kaddish for those who have no one to say it for them. On page 159, as we repeat the words hallowed by the generations, the words of the Kaddish prayer. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'amad divrach v'rutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayet chonu v'yomechon, v'chayet chol beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach, le'olam olam me'almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh, v'yitalal shmei d'kudashah barichu, le'elam im kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbachata v'nechemata, damiran ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom v'imramal, v'yasei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol b'nei adam, v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all those who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved among us, among all the people of Israel, and among all the nations and families of earth. We say together, Amen. Please be seated. This time it's my pleasure to call upon Roz Allen, our president, to share some greetings and announcements on behalf of our board.
Shabbat shalom. All right. So, the announcement.
On the right side.
On the right side. It's been a long time since I've read the announcements. I'd like to say thank you, first of all, to our volunteers. Joel Brown, as always, and I see Emma Weisenblut back there. And our shamus, Dave Gordon. Upcoming services. All services will still be live streamed along with our in-person protocol being followed. So please, we will be continuing to wear masks and sign in with vaccine checking. So tomorrow, April 2nd at 10 a.m. we'll have a regular Shabbat service. Friday, April 8th at 8 p.m. we'll have a regular Erev Shabbat service, and Saturday, April 9th at 10 a.m. we will have a family Shabbat service. For current activities, updates, and announcements, please subscribe to our Solel accounts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you may visit our website. Beit Safer parents, students, and teachers, please send in your child's proof of vaccination as school has started again from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on Sundays. You know what? I'm gonna say everybody can probably look at everything online. There is a new date for the conversations with our Israel friends on Monday, May 9th, and the time will be announced. So be aware of that. Thursday lunches with Rabbi Pollack have resumed at 12 noon by Zoom, and you can contact the office if you need that. Passover products are now available at Loblaws. There's more here than I thought. On April 25th, we will be having Solel's Book Club, the Guernsey Library, and Potato Peel Pie Society. So you can look for that link in the Shamas. Save the dates for the Walk with Israel. This year it's going to be Sunday, May 29th, 2022. And please check out our Living Torah project on our website. So I think I actually have it all now that I've figured out how this is laid out. And I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom, and I'm glad to see people back in the sanctuary.
Thank you, Roz. And we'll conclude our service on page 163 with Kiddush for Erev Shabbat, led by our own Joel Brown. I invite you to rise and join with him. And as we do so, I'm noticing as well, I want to wish Mazel Tov to the families of Sherry Amar and Albert Amar on the birth of their grandson, Charles, born this week to Nathan and Sarah.
Now the whole universe, the sky, earth, and all their array was completed. It was the seventh day God had ended the work of creation, rested with all was completed. Then God blessed the seventh day and called it holy. For with this day God had completed the work of creation.
L'chaim, Shabbat Shalom. We wish you all a joyous day, a peaceful day of Shabbat. And those who are here, we invite you to join us in the social hall for Onei Shabbat. Those of you at home, enjoy your Nash. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Thank you.